In this video, I'm gonna show you what a bad vignette looks like and how to turn this into that with just a few steps. And if you wanna see more cool like this, then smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's roll the intro. In the age of AI, you are expected to produce work within minutes, not even hours, let alone days. And to help you get there, I have created Qazi's Toolkit. This is the fastest way to getting Hollywood looks in minutes. None of our tools use qualifiers, so you can push your grades as far as you want without risking to break anything. Whether you want to create a clean white look or a look from Tenet and everything in between, you can do so with just a few clicks. You can download the free demo to test it out without any time limit, so play with it as long as you want, or you can click the special link in the description to save $200 on the Qazi's Toolkit bundle. Check it out. Let's get back to the video. All right, so since the purpose of this tutorial is talking about vignettes, I'm not gonna build a look. I've already gone ahead and done that. So if I turn these two on and off, this is our balance, and then this is our look. The look is created using Qazi's Toolkit, but you can use pretty much any third-party plugin or the tools available inside Resolve. I'm using the Kodak 2383 preset in DaVinci Wide Gamut, and that gets to give us like really, really beautiful, probably the best Kodak 2383 rendition you're gonna see. So this looks amazing. I love it. Now we're gonna go ahead and work on the vignette that a beginner would do and the mistakes that they would make. So the first thing that they would do is they would create a circular window and then go ahead and do this right here. And that's like the most traditional form of vignette. And then they will invert it, and then they will go in their lift and they will pull this down, okay? And I'm not kidding when I say this. There's so many times when I actually see this, like I know exactly where the vignette took place. So let's just actually give our beginner a benefit of the doubt. And let's just say that they soften it a little bit, right? So like they do something like that. So even if they do something like that, it's not softened enough, because if I come out and I show you this, we can still like see what's happening. And that's the problem with using lift, because lift is too much on the nose and it's too aggressive because it's only pulling everything on the low end of the image and it's pretty visible. And another thing that you have to notice is that if I were to turn on my QT charts, which is used to QC your image, and here what I have activated is negatives indicator. So this is going to tell us if there's anything wrong with our image. So let's just say if I were to push my image a little bit more, look at what's happening here. And you can easily, you saw like how little of an adjustment I've made and I actually threw out my image. Like right now, what this is telling us, it's activating this color right here. And that means that this will not be accepted by broadcast. This will be actually flagged by broadcast if this goes out. So this is the risk that you can run into on top of like just in general, like aesthetically how fake it looks. Instead, a much better way to create a vignette that's a lot more believable is using your gamma. Because if I were to do the same thing and kind of push this image, like now I'm like really pushing it, like look at how far I'm going, and it's still believable because it's affecting the image. If I were to do before and after, it is affecting the image from the midpoint. So what's really happening is that when you pull the brightness down from the midpoint, if anything, it's adding more weight to your hues that are in the same vicinity. So you can see it right here, like how this is getting so much more weight. And then even like right here, we're starting to see a little bit more detail in the background. And that kind of thing you cannot expect or get with your lift, or even if we were to use our highlights, right? So like if I were to go in my gain and if I do this, like what this does is like, sure, over here, we might be getting some information back, but then you can see like what it's doing to the arm And it actually looks fake. It looks like it's been brought down. The brightness has been turned down. And same thing that's happening here. It's actually making the image look dull. Whereas if I go back and use my gamma again and do the same thing, like look at how much I'm pushing it and like how healthy my image is getting. Actually, you know what? Let's do something. So let's save this and then I will undo that. And now we'll go ahead and try to create a similar thing, eyeballing it, and we'll push it with our lift and we'll save it. I don't want to save it double time. And then we will reset that. And then we'll go ahead and we'll try to do the same thing with our gain. And now what we can do is we can actually run them side by side and see the difference. Okay, so this is with our gain, and you can see like how flat it feels. And when we use our lift, it does the opposite. So this is looking too muddy and too fake, especially if you look at like around the arm. But then if we go right here, like what is happening over here? Like this sort of discoloration, it just looks so fake and bad, right? Like it just goes from something to nothing all of a sudden. And even this area right here is just looking overly digital. And like what's happening to the arm right here? Like all that information is gone, right? And now let's go to our gamma, which was also pushed quite a bit. And now if we look at our gain versus gamma, like how all this detail is protected while we're bringing this down a little bit so it looks as good as it can. Now, if we go right here and look at it, it doesn't look as flat as our gain, but it looks so much better and it retains all that information. And now if we go between like gamma and lift, you can see how ugly it looks. Not to mention, like you can actually see like where the divide is happening, like where the actual vignette is. Like just keep an eye in this area. And if I go to gamma, which blends in so nicely, and if I go to lift, like it tells you where exactly it's happening. And then if we go to our gain, it just like starts to get so uninteresting, like when the vignette starts to affect our image. So that is not good at all. So my go-to method for you would be to use your gamma. But now let's get into a more interesting aspect of creating vignettes and how professional colorists actually approach it. So I've said it before that colorists are basically cinematographers in post. And what are the two main important things to a cinematographer? It's composition and lighting. Now, obviously in post, we can't really necessarily affect the composition other than punching in, punching out, but that depends on the director. Like it's totally up to him. But what we can control is lighting in post. And when I look at this image, I need to see it from cinematographer's perspective. Okay. And what our beginner did is actually, you know what? Let's save this version and now reset it. So what the beginner did is that they just basically created a vignette because they saw a video somewhere and this is how the vignettes go, and that's what they did. But what a professional would do is, after assessing the image, one of my favorite type of windows is this right here. So that's how I would create a vignette most of the time, because this is the most organic way to create shapes inside Resolve instead of this. This is just a dead giveaway, like anybody can spot it. So let's click right here now and assess the image, what's going on. So the light is coming through here and then it's kind of fading away. Got it. So I'm going to click and create a point right here. I'm going to create another point right here. And then I'm going to go right here to here to here. And then I'm going to close it off like that. Okay. Now, what we can do is we can grab these points and kind of extend them. But let's just, for the example's sake, keep them somewhere around here. Now I'm going to invert that. And remember, we said we're going to use our gamma for most like believable results. So let's go ahead and do that. And let's not over exaggerate it. So let's park it somewhere around here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my window. And all I want to do is I want to take my outside and I want to open it up. So I'm going to open it up and just look at like how realistic the effects are here. like how it just like fades away, like what we just did. You see like how beautiful the results are with this particular shape instead of just using like a predetermined oval and just not moving it, and it's completely unmotivated and makes no sense. Like the vignette comes out of nowhere. Whereas here, it is light motivated. Like it makes sense. It should be there. So if I do before and after, it makes all the sense in the world. More importantly, what we can do is we can go in our HDR palette, we can go under our exposure right here, and I can start pulling that in. So let me pull that in. Like I don't want to go too far. And even if I park it half a stop and I park it somewhere around here, like look at how we are bringing this down without affecting anything else, and how realistic this effect is compared to now if I go to this vignette right here. So if we just look at these two, you can see the results, right? How natural this is, and the light is coming through here. So like it makes the most sense to have a vignette here. And if I play it through, everything is gonna latch on. It's not like it's not gonna fit in perfectly. And like how the cutoffs were so crazy, whereas like with our version, everything blends in. Another great use of a vignette in a situation like that to create a really, really sophisticated, like Hollywood's like modern go-to look would be to add some sort of like lens distortion. And I'm going to do that here. Anytime I'm using my textures inside my node tree, I apply them right after my last look node. So basically my textures are placed after all the color work is done. And in my experience, it gives me the best results. Okay. And that's why it goes right here after the main look. And then here, let's just call it lens distortion. And then I'm going to drop in defocus background. And when you first drop it on, nothing happens. But as soon as we create this window, now we can actually see the effect, what it's doing. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to create a shape like that, and I'm going to turn it to something like this and just place it somewhere around here. And now I want to go ahead and I want to just like, soften it up. But before I start softening it up, like let's actually create the desired effect that we're going for. So I want to have like an anamorphic sort of like vibe. So I'm going to kill my anamorphism like right here. And then I'm going to grab my blur and I'm going to increase it. And like, look what it's doing, the effect that it's creating. Okay. So I actually want to go places. And now I want to go in my softening, and I want to, like, I cranked it to 45. And with softening, the entire idea is that play with it. Okay. Just play with it. Why did I push it as far as I have? For a simple reason. If I pull it back, like, look what starts to happen right here. That sort of like ghosting just doesn't look right to me. So I'm just like kind of pushing it until that kind of fades away. And then it looks pretty good. Like, and it gives me the effect that I'm looking for. I love like what it's doing here. Like I love what it's doing like around the neck, because then the focus becomes right here. Let's just say that this is an ad for headphones, right? Now I'm looking at this right here, the TF, the eyes, right? Like the most important areas, and I'm not bothered by what's down here, Not to mention it helps a lot with like noise. You see all that noise? That's already taken care of with this. It's gone. You see this noise? All that is taken care of. It's gone. So that is an advanced use of vignette. And that's how I would use it. So if I were to go here, and again, if we were to bring in our beginner's version, like how they would just use it in a very, like a straight lace way without putting any mind to it or understanding like what it should be doing, what are vignettes intended for. They're great tools for relighting. They're great tools for texturing, like what we just did right here. And we can end up with an image like that. So if I were to take these two, and kill them, I mean, just look at the effect that we created. So this is before, this is after. I mean, this is absolutely incredible what we were able to do. there's so many more uses. Like, I mean, we can just go in here and we can start like introducing some cooler tones. We can just literally go in here and start adding, like, we can do, we can just cool it off a little bit, right? Like, we don't have to over exaggerate or do anything crazy like that. But what I just did, if I do, like, look at on the edges, like around the edges. So if I do before, it gets all warm. But if I do after, if I like bring that effect in, it's actually really nice. It gives me like a Joker-like vibes, like what we just did. So this is just me kind of expanding your thinking when you're using these, right? So like, keep thinking about it. Keep challenging yourself. What else? What else? What else? Like, I just went in, I dropped my gamma. I went in my HDR palette. I grabbed the highlights. I dropped that down about half a stop. And then I went into my global offset in my HDR palette, and I just introduced a little bit of cooler tones on the edges. And then here, I just used my defocus background and created like this really nice anamorphic lens distortion to my image. It helped with the noise reduction also. And we ended up with an image that, again, more than noise reduction, it helped tell a better story. If I go right here and turn this on, I don't need to see all of this. Like, I don't need to see all of this, right? Like, I need to focus right here. In her eyes, she's having a great time. Why? Because she's listening to music and it sounds amazing. And there you have it. So one of the things I wanted you to walk away with in this video was that, yes, we needed technical skills to get to our end destination, but much more important aspect to getting the final look was the creative or the thought process that went into it. We had to think like a tastemaker. We had to think like a cinematographer. We had to take ownership. Color grading is much more than being an efficient button pusher. And on that note, do not forget to download the free demo for Qazi's Toolkit. It is absolutely the go-to way to create high-end looks. On that note, if you enjoyed the video, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace, fam.